About 16 people here today. So my goal is to bring some clarity to you in regards to your career, right? So I run a company called RyugakuSuccess. Ryugaku means study abroad in Japanese. I'm focusing on Japan because I have experience working in Japan, and I also have coached, just because I have properties in Seattle, some students who live in my house, and they ask me questions about their career and realized, oh, I think I can help more students. So before I expand globally, I decided to focus on Japan because I can do this coaching in Japanese language. I have a pretty good network in Japan, and I'll show you later that I have somewhat of a network outside of Japan. So my goal today is to make sure that you leave here with more tools to find out what kind of job you want to do, and also to help you become a stronger job candidate. One of the tools I use is called Bridge Activity, so I'll get into this in a second. So although this presentation is in Japanese text, of course my presentation will be in English, so you'll be able to follow along. So today's presentation is about what is Bridge Activity. And I have other presentations I can share at another time about each step of bridge. Okay? And this will help you bridge your gap between the student you are and the industry person you want to become. Because I think, unfortunately, schools are not helping as much as they can. So you have to do something by yourself to bridge some of that gap, if possible, a lot of that gap. I also have this presentation on my website, and I'll give you my cards later on, RyugakuSuccess.com. You can see the same presentation, and I'm talking in English, so if you don't speak Japanese, you can still hear it. Yuka and Shiho are helping me translate this text, so eventually it'll have subtitles if you want to read it. Okay, that's on my webpage, free of charge. So let's go on to the next slide, please. So I think, let's assume you're here for 1 year. I'm assuming every month you want to become stronger and stronger job candidates, right? And I think that's your expectation, that's why you're paying a lot of money. So the reality, this means, next slide, thank you. The reality is after some time, you may think, wait a minute, I still don't know what I want to do. Or wait a minute, I don't feel as strong as I should be. And a lot of students, what they'll do is they'll wait, because you know what's coming up in about 6 or 7 months? It's an internship. So during this time, they're wasting a lot of potential to increase their capability to improve themselves. Then when they get an internship, they're expecting something great is going to change. And unfortunately, the kinds of companies that are giving internships to students are the kind of internships where the work is kind of repetitive. There's repetitive work, right? So your value doesn't really increase that much. Of course, you may feel that you're learning a lot, but let's take it from the perspective of the interviewer. Do they think you developed enough? Okay. So if you were here and you developed here, that's really great. But in the industry, if they want people here, it's not enough. So how do we know where we are? I'll talk about that. Next slide. So currently we have homestay, we have our share house, or living with friends or whatever, right? We have fun time, and we have school, we have OPT, we have internship, and maybe even job shadow. Currently, I think this is not enough. Okay, so at the end of my presentation, I'm going to propose some change in this graph. Okay, next slide. So these are basically the 6 problems students are having. Okay, they may not know what companies do, what organizations do. They may not know what kind of job they want to do. They may not know what actually companies do or industries there are. And their internship, if they have one, they're not able to leverage what they learned to make themselves more competitive. And I mean, if you're taking the bus every day or walking to school, you're probably missing out on a part of American culture, right? there's different levels, socioeconomic levels, there's different industries. So how can you really experience America if your world is kind of limited, okay? Then what happens is it makes it difficult for you to compete against other students, against other job candidates. And I think a lot of students understand that these are some problems, but when do they really know how serious this problem is? It's when they start to get a job, when they start to do job hunting, when they go to the interview. So you can't go back. You've already graduated, right? Or you're already going to graduate. So what I want to do is propose something to you that you can do from today. Next slide. So from the perspective of the interviewer, you might look like this. You might have good grades in school, but something is missing, okay? Next slide. So I think if you can meet industry people who are working in the industry that you have an interest, 5 things can happen, right? So of course, we won't get into it, but basically you're going to become a stronger job candidate. You're going to have more confidence in the kind of job you want to do. You're going to have more clarity. You're going to sound like you know what you want to do. If the interviewer asks you, why do you want to work here? And you say, well, ever since I was a child, blah, 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 I want to make money. Or it doesn't sound like an industry person, right? So let's fix that problem. Next slide. Then my goal is to help you become more like this. So I don't touch the school area, I touch the outside areas. Next. So who am I, right? I'm this guy talking here. You don't know who I am. Let me introduce myself a little bit more. I was also an international student, and I happened to be in Japan. I was studying hard, and my goal was, to graduate. I lived with a politician, homestay family, in Hayama, in Kanagawa Prefecture, near Zushi and Kamakura. I lived with a hairstylist. She was in Fujisawa. So I was kind of like a shonan boy, if you guys know what that is. And I also lived with acupuncturist, right, in Yokosuka area. All of them had their own business, so they're kind of business-minded, but they made their money a different way. And I think anybody who is going to make money is in business. And in order to make money, you must sell your capability. So everybody must, to some extent, know sales and marketing, because you must convince the interviewer to give you a job offer. Okay. I got my job, a company called Itochu, trading company in Japan. It was pretty prestigious. Didn't like it. And I think many of you know the word dairi shinsotsu. It's basically when you get a job and then you don't like it and you quit. It's not good for you, it's not good for your company. And usually this happens because we weren't prepared for the industry, right? We had our image of what is industry, we got a job, and then we're like, oh, I don't really like it. Okay. So what do you do before you buy shoes or pants, or you try it on? So this is a time where you can try on an industry, right? Before you buy a car, you test drive it. Unfortunately, we graduate, we get a job without trying it on. So I'll show you how to try on some industries. Got the job, went to a different industry, didn't like it, went to another, package design, investor relations, didn't like it. What I did do is I started to take my homestay family's advice. My politician father said, Matt, you have to meet people. My homestay father said, Matt, you have to make history with people. My homestay mother said, the more people you talk to, the more truth you will find. So all of this is based on basically Asian type of thinking, right? My homestay mother, who was a hairstylist, was from Hiroshima, right? Their advice, I think, applies globally. Any company in the world must make money. Any company in the world does marketing. Any company in the world has people, right? So I started to meet more people and opportunities started coming to me. Fortunately, I got a job at KDDI. I got a job at NEC, which is a big name companies in Japan if you don't know them. And I started making more friends in the industry. I really made an effort to go out and meet people. Then I got a phone call from the Ministry of Communications, Japan. And they said, hey, we heard about you, and we have a position where we want you to represent us at United Nations. So I said, great. This kind of aligned with what I wanted to do. I wanted to travel. I wanted to meet a lot of people. But I had to build my skill. Did some work in sales as well, right? So not only administrative government type stuff. In this environment, not only government, but also companies are coming together. Next slide. So as I started traveling around the world doing my job, I thought to myself, I'm going to talk to the human resources people. And I'm going to talk to some of these people, they have the hiring authority, right? So I thought, let me talk to them about this problem that I'm seeing with my students who are living in my houses. Any country, all the countries, it's the same. No matter what level you graduate, college, university, etc., there's always a gap that exists. Okay? So I said, okay, next slide, please. I'm going to start to build something based on my experience, based on other people's experience, and based on the market needs. So I've been doing this since I had my first intern in 2000, and I had her write a journal, like Taikendan, and then I had other students that I coached write Taikendan. So if you go to my webpage, there's a Taikendan page. You can listen to all the past students in their voice. It's in Japanese, but you can listen to what they did, right? A lot of students will come and listen to other students, their homestay family, the teachers, and do the same thing that happened last year, right? And the year before that. Next slide. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna stop doing what I'm doing with Kokuren and business and stuff. I bought some houses, so now I'm coaching full time. I'm sometimes getting dirty, cutting the grass, cutting grass tomorrow, or fixing something. But I'm active in business. I'm going to Japan next month. I'm gonna consult with a Japanese company, actually 2 companies. So you heard the word coach before. I'm considered a playing coach. Right? I'm not just coaching and say, do this. I'm actually working as well. Okay. Next slide. Next one. So these are some students I've coached. Some of them have a lot of journals that they wrote. And their goal is to help you. These are also on my page. Some students I coached once. Some students are from, here's the Philippines, Taiwan, Mongolia, China, Vietnam, India, and they're all different degree level, right? Some just graduated from high school, and some are getting PhD. And recently I've been coaching some people on who are already working in the industry. I have one student, her journal is on my webpage. She's an industry person in Japan, wanted to change her industry, and you can listen to her story, what she did to gain more clarity. Next slide. So this is an example of one of the students and his Taikendan, right? His journals. These are some titles, right? Went on my first, what's the benefit of going on an information interview? The importance of information interview. He was able to create his own opinion on what is America, right? Again, this slide is online. If you go on vacation, say for example in New York or Los Angeles, why not meet industry people there as well? In your country, people will meet you. Some people say, oh, in Japan, they're not going to meet me. They will meet you. Let's see. Yeah, right here. He met 10 industry people when he went to Japan on vacation. Okay, next slide. Just more examples. You can listen to all these on the webpage. Next slide. Tomoe, she didn't know what she wanted to do. So she chose wedding planning people to talk to, human resources people, and also travel industry people, right? And then here's some pictures of the people she met. So I'm the coach not to tell you what your industry and all this is about, but to help you figure out a plan so that you can go out and meet people, because there's so many people who are willing to meet you. Thing is, you just have to contact them, find them and contact them. Next slide. Maki was a graduate student. His major was architecture, and I met him when I was on a business trip in England, and I ended up coaching him by Skype. Next slide. Toshia, this is the person who was already working. She was working as a bookkeeping, accounting. She wanted to go to aesthetics, like beauty care and stuff. After getting the realization of what it requires, she felt like, okay, I'm happy in my industry. It's kind of like, I'm going to talk about relationships. Sometimes a girl has a boyfriend and she's like, oh, I'm tired of my boyfriend. I'm going to get a new boyfriend. Then they get a new boyfriend. They're like, oh my gosh, my boyfriend's actually really good. Same with the industry. She wanted to change her industry, but then she realized it's going to be worse. So now she has more satisfaction in her current industry, more appreciation, more happiness. Okay. And I also wanted to mention, I showed you my jobs a second ago. You don't have to get the big name jobs. Some people are happy in a small company. Some people are happy doing the work that might be simple to others. Other people really want to do something difficult. What happens is your happiness. That's the most important thing. It doesn't matter making a lot of money, making a little bit of money, you can survive. The most important thing is your happiness. Right? Next slide. So here's an example of a typical student compared to a student who's active to meet industry people. The typical student is studying abroad and they're doing many, many activities, thinking this is going to be good. Yeah, it probably is. And as I mentioned earlier, you're probably going to learn a lot of things. The problem is, next slide, when it's time to get an interview, how much of those things will the interviewer recognize? On the other hand, next slide, if you start meeting industry people now, those experiences with industry people and the experience you're going to have at your interview are going to be very similar. It's almost like having interview practice in advance. So start meeting industry people now. So here's the difference, right? Student A goes to an industry event, learn, maybe it's marketing, and they meet many people, and he's probably like, hey Ellen, my name is Matt, I go to GreenRiver Community College, and I want to do marketing, can you tell me something about marketing? Right, he tells you something about marketing, and then you go maybe 10 more people. Alan's not at this event for me. He's at the event for himself, right? So the difference between this student and this student is this. Hi Alan, my name is Matt, I'm going to GreenRiver Community College, my major is marketing. Why did you come today? Oh, that's great. What is your goal today? Oh, I see. Hey, you know what? I have to talk to some more people. Let's meet again later. Right? Here's my information. Do you have a card? You don't need a business card, but you can write your name in advance. Right? What's your name? I'm sorry.
My name is Taiga.
Taiga. So I go to Taiga, right? Hey Taiga, nice to meet you. My name is Matt, GreenRiver Community College, blah, blah, blah. Oh, here's my card. Nice to meet you. Now I know why they came today. In 30 minutes, I can meet 5 people. Then what I do is, I'm sorry. Yes. Yuki. Yuna. What's your goal, right? Why did you come today? Oh, you know what? I met Alan. You guys should meet. Hey Alan, I need you to meet Yuna, right? Now you start connecting people. Now you appreciate my help. Tomorrow, I have your card. I'm going to email you. Hi Yuna, hi Taiga, hi Alan. I hope yesterday was helpful to you. By the way, I really want to learn more about the industry. Could you please meet me over coffee? Maybe one person's going to say yes. The point is this. You could give stress to 10 people, and after the event, they're never going to remember you. Or you can help some people and maybe get 2 or 3 meetings where they're going to help you. They're going to meet you for you. Right? And that relationship is going to last longer. That's an example of a strategy, and that's one of the reasons why, using that strategy, this person's experience is more recognized than that student's. I mentioned earlier, you might go to New York, might go to LA, Disneyland, Disneyland, Hawaii, the beach. But if your target is, could be marketing, you could be molecular engineering, there are people who do that kind of stuff, and they're going to be there. They could be on vacation, contact a whole bunch of people. Now, while you're on vacation, you meet these people for 1 hour. Maybe they buy your coffee, right? I came today and you guys bought one. Thank you. Your experience is more relevant, right? You grew, which is great, just like they grew. But you grew to the point that now your experiences are recognized by the future interviewer, which means you're a stronger job candidate. Now the point is this: if you're not going to the top universities, then why are you going to compete with your grades only? It might be kind of difficult to compete. So you need something a little bit more. So, you know, my bridge activity isn't for the ones who are going to the Ivy League schools. I think they're probably going to be okay. Probably for the other ones who need a little bit more weapons, more tools, right? Next slide. So how do we meet people? So I have 2 documents that I give for free. Just contact me. I have some cards here. One is called a self-realization matrix. There's some topics on top, and to that topic you just write like 1 word or 1 phrase what you think about it. And the more you do, the more you're going to see yourself from a different perspective. And you might think, oh, actually, I like this more than that. And I can help you. If I'm coaching you, it helps me to coach you better. I also give you a database. Since you're going to meet industry people, you need to put their information someplace, right? You need to keep track of who you're meeting. So with these, go to LinkedIn, go to Facebook, go to some newspapers, some industry magazine, and start looking up people. Even if you don't meet anybody, you're going to learn so much about the industry. You're going to learn so much about the words that are used in the industry. You're going to get more clarity on what kind of jobs there are. You can even do it for your country, right? Use Google, be creative, find people. And then as you start meeting people, write about it in your own language. Because I know when you come here, just like when I went to Japan, my English level dropped. Right? So it's good to write in your own language. And I still have my journal from like 20-something years ago. It's like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. Everybody has met somebody. If you don't meet somebody, let me know, because it probably means you just need to contact 20 more people. That's it. Easy peasy. Next slide. There are many books in all languages that talk about how to fill your gap, right? Next slide. One person wrote a book on the 71 rules in companies that no one ever taught me. Of course, I read some of these books in English as well. Go on to the next page. There's magazines, right? And next slide. There's a company that helps students go back to Japan, and it's interesting that they say that it's real important to basically meet people around you, right? And it says, why don't you try to have your own interview with people? That's what I said. Actually, I got it from them. And then down here, they're saying, think about what you want to do, and then choose your industry. So reading these books, listening to these things, I'm thinking, there's no roadmap. Do, try, fight. It's not so clear. Next slide. So what I did was I decided to make it clear. 6 steps. Right? I already gave you some of the tools for the first step. LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. Right? The point is this. You have to contact this many people to get this many replies, to get this many meetings, and your life can totally change. Many people will contact this many people and expect a reply. It's not gonna happen. You have to contact a few more. No one contacts, replies, contact more. I just sent 200. Yuka, how many schools did you list up?
I don't know.
260?
I guess.
Yeah, about 260, and I got 1 meeting. Awesome. I won. Right? You guys know baseball. Who's a baseball watcher? Somebody's, yeah. 10 times at bat, And what's the average for a good professional? 20%?
30%.
30?
Yeah.
So that means 7 times you fail. Failure is okay. Not here in school. Don't fail in school. In life, failure is actually just a stepping stone to success. Learn from it, of course, continue on. Because you didn't do 7 and failed 7, you did 10 and failed 3. It's failed 7, but you got 3. Eventually, when you go get an interview, I want you to be the kind of person that has experience. Now, you may not have work experience, but you have something called transferable skills. Next slide. So basically, this is the process, right? Next slide. Let's say for those, so how many people said they don't know, how many people said that they decided not to choose something yet? Okay, I think there's someone else. Okay, let's just say 2 people. Okay, so this person, here's an example. 2 people want to play sports, and they decide today what to do. Person A says, I'm going to wait until I know. I'm undecided. Person B says, you know what, I'm going to start skateboarding from today. Time goes on, time goes on, time goes on. At this point, they both make a change. Person A says, I'm going to start swimming. Person B says, you know what, I'm going to change my sport to swimming. At this point, who is stronger and why? Does anybody want to try? You know? Who's stronger, do you think? Maybe I have to update my slide, but let's give it a try. So B is stronger, you say? Why?
They started preparing something.
Yeah, I think so. They started exercising sooner. So this person has some conditioning and skill. So by this time, the assumption is B has more conditioning and skill in something than A. And I say it's usually 40 to 80%. I don't know if you can see this. 40 to 80% of those condition and skill can transfer to the new sport. Same in industry, right? We're waiting, and then we decide. This person started meeting industry people, maybe continue with the industry, or change the industry. It's still okay, because you're going to be stronger than this student. And let me just remind you, this person didn't decide because now they know. They decided because now there's no more time. It's a lot of pressure, isn't it? Next slide. So my proposal is, why don't we make meeting industry people a fun activity, right? And when we say industry people, we kind of have an image of what that looks like. Next slide. Why not meet people who are around your age, right? Because those people are probably doing a job that's more relevant to you. Of course, you can meet the older people too, that's okay. But when you ask them questions, those questions must be relevant to you. Don't ask this person how he got a job. Maybe he says, oh, I typed my resume and I put it in an envelope, right? Ask them how people these days are getting a job. So I also coach on asking good questions. Next slide. So have a strategy and move forward, right? Next. So let's just go really quick. On my webpage, next slide, I have free information. I have the past students' journals. I have a Facebook page. I'm creating a book now. Next. I have, next one, these journals, next page. I actually have them in video format, so you can look at them. You can listen to them. Next. These are your upperclassmen, senpai. These are the people who did the right thing, got great results. I'm not saying they got the perfect job. I'm not even saying they're happy, but they got more clarity and they became stronger job candidates. That's probably what you want. Next. Go ahead, go to the next one. That's the book. Facebook page, next one. So I mentioned I have six more presentations right on my page. Next. I do coaching in person and online. Next. And I also have some houses. Go past the next 3 slides, one in West Seattle, South Seattle, and in Capitol Hill. Next. For the rent, I include basic coaching. And then for a bit more, I give like incredible coaching. I introduce you to people. No, I'm sorry, go back. You want this, right? And currently, next slide, you're getting this. And it's a lot of money, probably $30,000 a year. My proposal is, next slide, for potentially 0 more money, you can learn a lot from my page. If I'm coaching you, I assume 30 coaching sessions, you probably only need 10, which could be up to 1,500, basically 5% more money. So from 0% to 5% more money, I'm confident you can look more like this. Next slide. Next slide. So I think you need to take action, right? If you've been going to school and nothing has changed in 6 months, probably the same thing's going to happen in 6 more months. Next slide. My goal is to help you look like this. Next. All right. How many minutes do we have?
1.
And then what? And then finish?
So most of them, I don't know. Some of them have classes at 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions? Great. I'll give you a little bit of advice. When you have an interview question, like what's your weak point, or why do you want to work here, don't answer that question. Answer this question. What's your weak point, and why should I hire you? Give me an example. Why do you want to work here? Why should I hire you? Give me an example. So in your head, always add, why should I hire you? Give me an example. Your answer will be totally different. Okay? So I'm going to give my cards out. 2 of these cards, I'm going to shuffle them, to have a 1-hour free coaching. They're there. Whoever wants to take action. All right, thank you very much. And I'm going to be here, so if you want to ask any questions, feel free to ask questions.
And can we take a photo first for everything?